Hey friends, I'm here in my home garden, and today I wanted to show you something a little bit different, a little more unusual in the gardening realm, and that is gardening with hardy cacti, specifically the prickly pears today. So a lot of people don't know that prickly pear, there's many hardy varieties. So we're here in central Ohio. There's actually quite a few hardy prickly pears that you can grow right here in central Ohio. So we are a zone 6A on the USDA hardiness map, and that basically means that we see somewhere between -20, -15 degrees commonly during the winter. I think last winter we went down well below zero right around Christmas. So here in my garden you can see this is Coombs Winter Glow. Puncha is the genus for prickly pear, and they're beautiful. They're just starting to bloom. Now we're actually a couple weeks away from the real peak for flowers, but I wanted to show you a few of the prickly pears that you can plant, the environment that they prefer, and what you can expect. These plants have only been in the ground for 1 year, so they're pushing a lot of new growth. These are the new pads developing here, and here we have new flowers. So the most common prickly pear that you're going to find at, say, a garden center, which isn't all that common, would be Puncha humifusa. This is the eastern prickly pear, and believe it or not, this plant is native to Ohio. This is a selection called Mulberry Creek, and it puts on a really pretty apricot yellow flower. This was selected from Mark and Karen Langen at Mulberry Creek Herb Farm. And it's probably the prettiest humifusa, in my opinion, that's out there. Most humifusa are yellow. Additionally, there is a inermis type, which is like a thornless type, but you do want to be careful of these little glochids on all of the prickly pears. It's actually those little clusters. It's not the thorns, the needles to worry about. It's those little collections of hairs. Those are like fiberglass if you get them in your skin. So whenever you're planting, I'll show you how to properly plant one of these. You want to really avoid coming in contact with the plants. So finding varieties that are not yellow is going to be very difficult. That's one of the great things about Groovy Plants, is we do carry some unusual colors. Getting them is really a matter of timing. We tend to have the best selection right around the summer solstice. Chances are, if you go to a local garden center, they're not going to have anything other than possibly humifusa, and even that would be unusual. So as you can see here in my home garden, this is a sloped planting area that gets full sun all day long, and I have this nice thick layer of pea gravel here. This slope allows for good drainage away from the plants, and I also like to plant them a little bit high. So I actually came through and I already cut my hole. So I'm going to back this soil out. This is pretty good soil as it is. Heavy clay over the winter is going to be the death of most of the non-humifusa type prickly pears. And here is how you plant a prickly pear without actually touching it. So you've got your plant. These are really nice, and I'm going to show you these in the garden center when we're done. Just dump it out, and then hold the plant by its root ball. Don't let the plant touch you whatsoever. I like to plant a little high. So I've got my plant sitting here. I'm not going to break up the roots or anything. These are really tough plants. A single pad that falls off of one of these will root on its own. So you don't need to tear the root structure apart. And I'm just going to backfill with gravel. And where you are, your availability for gravel may be different, but you can use granite, crushed granite. Main thing that it's kind of smaller gravel, and you don't want to use a really large chunky gravel. And that clump will expand over time, and as you can see, here's a 1-year-old. It's a different plant, but comparable growth. The one I just put in the ground was Coombs Winter Glow, which is probably one of the prettiest pinks out there. One of the great things about the prickly pears is they're actually wonderful for pollinators. So as these plants begin to open up, you'll see bees all over the flower. Additionally, all of the prickly pears are technically edible, so that's where nopales come from, although you do need to burn those glochids off. You may notice on some of the older growth prickly pear, especially larger ones, this yellowing or mottling on the stem. This is totally normal. As the plant gets older, it actually develops almost a woody structure to it. So that's not anything to be concerned about. Now, if your plants have a lot of black spot, that can be bacterial fungal. And that's one of those situations where you really want to make sure your drainage is good and the plants are able to dry down adequately. But this is very normal. Opuntia humifusa does not do that as much. It is a crawler, where these are a little bit taller. Go take a look in the garden center at the ones that we have available. Here at the ranch we have Opuntia Mulberry Creek. We have Erinacea, Grand Mesa Peach, which is a nice large plant, gets pretty big. Pina Colada, really big plant. And then Nell Pastel, this is a Utahensis. We also have some Coombs Winterglow snuck in here too. So a fun thing about prickly pear is they're actually native to almost the whole contiguous US. So this is a truly all-American plant, which is really fun, and far more cold hardy on a lot of these than you would expect. There are many South American types that aren't very cold hardy. There's quite a few that are winter hardy, and if you're willing to put in the preparation for some of these more unusual types other than humifusa, you can have a really cool southwestern look and a really, really nice flower display. The cold hardiness potential of Opuntia is pretty significant and makes it an ideal garden plant given that you put in the right preparation. So that's just a quick rundown on some of the prickly pear that we have here at the ranch. This is a passion project for me. It's just something I enjoy. I'm a plant geek, so I really like collecting and growing these unusual plants. So I hope you liked it. If you're into this kind of thing, definitely come out June 17th. We have an unbelievable cacti and succulent selection that we're gearing up for the succulent solstice on June 17th.